All right. All right. I think that looks pretty good. I've been trying to wrestle around this recent shift. A little while ago, I kind of was looking at the business, and I was considering options and what made the most sense, and what's working, what isn't. And I ultimately kind of landed on the decision of making JECP a side hustle. And that's tough to do, like JCP feels like my baby, feels like something that I've spent so much time kind of building, molding, separating off, building back together. And when I shared that, it definitely felt a little bit like failure. There's like this frustrating side of things as a business owner that you want to figure things out, you want to get all this working. And I've read so many business books, I tried so many things, and we just came off of a really great season. So I want to spend a little bit of time today kind of trying my best to kind of put words to kind of the situation. I'm sure I'm going to miss a few things. I guess I'll just start and say that for the most part, it's been really good. Rewinding back over and looking at, the tail end of 2023 going into 2024 and then all of 2025, I really feel like it was a season of being an artist again. I dug in a lot deeper into the artistry, into the creative process. I challenged myself in ways that I really haven't quite ever done. But at the end of the day, just looking at it is like we made some really good work. We worked with some really awesome clients. We had passion projects on the side of everything. But what I think the disappointing part was just financially it wasn't working out. I try my best to be flexible, to run a good business, to do good work. And I mean, no shade at any of my clients, because at the end of the day, I make those decisions. I come up with the agreements. I say yes to these things. We kind of were just sitting and I was thinking, I was like, man, we either need to be doing higher volume of the work that we're doing so we can manage more clients, or we need to find better paying clients that can afford us. And I still think those things can both happen, probably less so the first one. But it really came down to financials. On the pro side of things, this last year, I felt more creative than ever before. I've always kind of sat as the implementer, even of my own business. Like I'll set the vision, I'll think about the copywriting and the design of the website and all that stuff. But I've always been more of a systems and a process guy. I'm more organized. I like kind of dialing things in. And one of the very first things that I did kind of with this reawakening was I said, I'm done producing the way that I've been producing. I want producing to be as effortless as possible. I don't want to spend a ton of time on paperwork or any of this stuff. So I implemented a lot of processes and systems. I spent way more time with every single client just verbalizing what was going to happen and saying, I don't want to charge for this. I want my time to be paid for in the act of creating, the act of thinking and developing these things, for getting closer to you and building a closer relationship. And in the last year, I would say a good 90% of our clients have been killer to work with. They've been so trusting. They've been so awesome. We've got to tell some really impactful stories, really important stories. And it feels like a reclaiming of who we are in that way. It led us to kind of landing on this story sculpting thing and defining it to a certain degree. It's allowed us to approach band work totally different and in a way that I think is going to help me as I continue my career into more narrative and TV shows and documentaries. So that's been the really good parts. I was like, our clients have been so trusting. Me kind of getting out of the implementer seat is like, I did become the idea guy. Ross wanted to officially step away from doing more of the video production stuff, specifically in music videos. And I had just been kind of pulling him along for a long time. And a lot of our music video work you look at is Ross's brainchild. It's his creative genius. And he's so good at storytelling, at characters, at story beats. And I really feel like I was pulling him down and dragging him along with that. And when I lost him at the tail end of 2023, him shifting away from coming up with those ideas to just being on set, helping out as an AD, it was on my shoulders to kind of figure out the creative concepts. And that was really terrifying. But I'll say over the last year plus, it's been the most empowering thing that I've got to do. And that brings me to the first limit, which is volume. We could take on more clients, we could do more things. But the reality is what I've realized is like I took 7+ clients and I built these multi-story worlds. And I have a limit to what I can do. And I started to notice, some things were coming more quickly, the structure, the process, but the actual creative elements that make a story really interesting, I ran into a few that I was like, I don't have any more ideas that aren't stealing from something else. When I'm making art, there are pieces that I know can be repeated in structure and its frameworks, but it's when I start to borrow from other things in an effort to do it faster that starts to feel lazy. It starts to kill my creative drive, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm always thinking about my reputation. I think more now than ever, I'm realizing that I love being an artist. I love being creative. I have massive respect to, building business, to business books, to ideas and frameworks, but I'm bored with a lot of those things. I'm not saying there's no value in it. And this is where like the nuance comes in, is like, I feel like lately, a lot of the business acumen, the things that I've learned, I've been turning those more into back pocket skills. And I've been coming back to my creative journey and saying, what kind of Josh do I want to become? What are the things that I want to challenge myself with? And those are the parts of this last year that I love the most. We did get to tell some really good stories. A lot of those clients still have more story to be told, and we plan to tell those in 2026. I'm not opposed to bringing on new clients, but I do think I'm going to be more hesitant to bringing people into the story sculpting process. I'm realizing that's super involved, that's very custom, and I almost look at myself as a showrunner. I want to spend the time developing the stories, developing the characters, and being really focused on how we tell that story. The clients that have went through this process, we get 1, 2, 3 stories done, and then I start to see how we can add in extra stories and do other things. And this is literally what we've applied from the corporate side. We did a lot of brand storytelling for years, and I always saw it as a content library. How do we kind of build your story together and plug these pieces together? And then it allows you to be more profitable. It allows you to have a system. It allows you to be more creative in the way that you display, use, and implement that creativity. So this isn't new to me, but it was a new application, being able to step in and to be more of a creative director, to kind of really come in and truly partner with a lot of my clients. So that part I've loved. It just comes down to numbers. Digging into the last couple of weeks, what I've really enjoyed kind of coming back to freelance, partnering with a few agencies and video production companies, the ball's starting to roll, and it's rolling a lot easier than what I was thinking. I was kind of questioning on some of these projects that we were doing, how bloated I was with gear. It felt like we had more tools than we were able to use. But coming back to freelance, partnering with agencies, and having the different kits, the different tools, and just even in the last year, how effective we've got at telling better stories. We've gotten faster. We've gotten better. And coming back into freelance and production partner work has felt effortless. And I really like that. It's been nice to be able to, exert a lot less energy, still feel like I have a lot more energy for other stuff, to have more time with my family. There's been a lot of positives. And all that to say is like, I really see JECP kind of being positioned as me only working with my clients that I'm continuing to do stories with, or being a lot more selective with the work that we take on. It feels like my side hustle again. It reminds me of the days when I used to work at Lowe's, and I feel like there's a benefit to having these limiters right now. As odd as it sounds, with being in the car crash and totaling my car and me and my wife sharing a car, it's forcing me to be more selective, more picky, whether that's a higher rate, whether that's more clarity on the job. And I think that's benefiting me, but it's also been benefiting my crew when we have taken on jobs. It's benefiting, just kind of the clarity around the numbers that have to happen to be able to make things work. And it's making me look at 2026 really excited, because the clients that we did work with JECP, we just got started, and it feels like I want to do less work and I want to do it better. Anytime I'm doing a JECP project, I wanted to really have that touch, that specialness, the thing that I really worked super hard to build before I went full in on the business. So it ultimately feels like a good thing, as crazy as it sounds. It's like, having to face the financials, seeing that it wasn't fully working, realizing that I didn't want to compromise what we worked so hard to build. I think the only thing that truly still just makes me feel a little bit like a failure is my crew. Like we worked really, really hard this last year. And I put people in so many different positions. I shifted them around to different roles. And I feel like we made one of the best teams out there. Like, I'm just so incredibly proud of my guys, of the work that we did, of the way that we did that work, the feedback that we gave to each other nonstop. And, I would say the one piece of me that is still an entrepreneur that gets me the most excited is creating jobs. I really like to take care of people. When I got started, some of you know this, some of you don't, but it's just like, I didn't feel like anyone believed in me. I think so many artists relate with this. It's like, you want opportunities, you want to do good work, you're just begging for this. Maybe you don't have all the experience yet. And, some people are harsher than others. Some people tell you you'll never make it, and it creates a chip on your shoulder. And when I was building JECP, I always wanted it to be a place where we gave people the skills, we developed other creatives, we gave them opportunities. And this last year, my team kicked ass. We didn't do big sets, we didn't do anything big and crazy, but we did a lot with very little. And the only people I really feel like I'm letting down is my team. They all have my back. They all have expressed how this makes sense, and they want me to take care of myself. But it's the one thing that does still kind of keep me up at night. And I know there will be future opportunities. It just won't be as often as what it is. So yeah, that's my long-winded answer for what's been going on. I want to try to spend more time kind of breaking down projects, sharing what's working, diving deeper into some of this process and make it make sense. And I guess the optimist in me truly does feel like what we've been doing, what we did last year, I don't think it has a lot of value right now. Maybe I'm really biased when I say this, but I feel like social media is exploding with sameness. I'm just seeing so many people put the same things out, chasing the same thing. That could be AI, that could just be the algorithms, but social media has become one of the most boring places on the internet. And what I am seeing is certain artists are really using their voice, their taste, their visuals, and they're standing out, they're entertaining me, they're inspiring me. And I think before long, that sameness is going to pop and it's going to get boring because people have over-indexed tools over storytelling, over creativity. And I think what we did in last year will have value in the future. I'm not saying we're ahead of the curve. I just think that there's going to be a wake-up call for a lot of content. I think there's going to be value for us down the line. And the portfolio that we put together feels really impressive. I'm really proud of it. And I think that stuff will continue to open doors for me way into the future. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag like anything else. It's not good or bad. It's like what you learn and make out of the situation. I'm trying my best in real time to share, to process this stuff, to still find opportunities for my people and for myself. I'm trying to save for a car. I'm trying to do kick-ass work. I'm trying to have fun with this work. I'm trying to get past the doom and gloom of all the unknowns in this style of work. And I think at the end of the day, I'm just trying to be the best artist I can be, the best version of myself I can be. So if you listened, thank you so much. If you were late, it would be awesome if you'd share a comment or tell me what connected, what didn't, what's similar, what's totally different, what are you learning? And in the meantime, just keep up the good fight, keep doing good work, and thanks for listening to me.